Welcome back, students. So next topic is shadow. Shadow is formed by opaque object. When light falls on an opaque object, it creates a shadow on the wall or on the screen. Suppose you consider this book. It's an opaque object. So when light falls on this book, its shadow will be formed behind the object. Its shadow will be formed behind the object. So that is a shadow. Okay. So a shadow is formed by an opaque object when light is blocked by it. When light is blocked by it, it forms an shadow. Now, a shadow is formed when an opaque object blocks the path of the beam of light. So this one is an opaque object. This one is an opaque object. Here, light from this torch falls on this opaque object and a shadow is formed here. And a shadow is formed here. You can see a dark color thing on the shadow. You can see a dark colored portion on this screen. So this dark color portion represents a shadow. So we need three things for the formation of a shadow. First one is a source of light. First one is a source of light. Second one is an opaque object. Second one is the opaque object. And third one is a screen on which we can form the shadow. Okay. So we need three things for the formation of shadow. First one is an luminous object or a source of light. Second one is an opaque object. Opaque object. Third one, a screen on which we can form the shadow. Instead of screen, we can use floor or the wall of a building that can act as the screen during the formation of shadow. Okay. So shadow is a dark patch formed when light falls on an opaque object. When light falls on an opaque object, it creates a dark portion on the screen. That dark portion is known as the shadow. Actually, the light gets blocked by the opaque object. So the light will not pass through this opaque object and you will get a dark portion here, and that dark portion represents the shadow. Okay. So three conditions are necessary for the formation of shadow, or three things are necessary for the formation of shadow. First one, opaque object. Second one, source of light. Third one, that is a screen. That is a wall or screen. So three things are necessary for the formation of a shadow. Okay. First one, opaque object. Second one, luminous object or a source of light. Then a screen on which we can form the shadow, or a wall, or on the floor we can form shadows. Okay. So that is given in page number 108. 108. A dark patch formed by each of them on the ground is due to its shadow. Then there we need a source of light and an opaque object to see a shadow, and a screen also we need. a screen also we need to cast the shadow. Now, can transparent objects form shadow? Can transparent objects form shadow? No. Transparent object will not form shadow, or light will pass through it. The light will not be blocked by the object. The light will pass through transparent objects. So, transparent objects will not form shadow. Only opaque objects will form shadow. Now, you can see the length of the shadow will be different. In the morning and the evening, the length will be more, and at the noon, it will be less. What is the reason for that? That reason I will tell you. Here, in the morning and in the evening, the sun is far away from us. The sun is far away from us, and the shadow will be larger in size. The size will be more. But at noon, the sun will be just above our head. Above our head at noon, at that time, the shadow formed will be very small. At that time, the shadow formed will be small. You can see in this picture. At 8 a.m., the length of the shadow is more, and at also 4 p.m., the length is more. At noon, 12 noon, the shadow is less or shorter, not less, shorter, longest and shorter. So, in the morning and the evening, the length of the shadow is more. At the noon, it is shorter. The reason is that in the morning and the evening, sun is far away from us. The sun is far away from us. Then one more point is there. Suppose this one is an object, luminous object. From here the light will emit, or it produces light. This one is an opaque object. This one is an opaque object. Then this one is a screen. So, on the screen a shadow will be formed. Now, when light passes through this opaque, when light gets blocked by this opaque object, its shadow will be formed on the screen. Now, you can see the distance between the object and the source, this opaque object and this source. Here the distance between this source and this opaque object is small. The shadow formed is large. The size of the shadow is more. Here, if the object is moved closer to the screen, the size of the shadow is also becoming, or the size of the shadow decreases. The size of the shadow decreases. If the distance between the object and the luminous object is less, then the size of the shadow will be more. If the distance between the opaque object and the luminous object is more, then the size of the shadow will be less. So, the size of the shadow depends on the distance between the source of light and the object. Distance between the source of the light and the object. Here in the first diagram, this one is a source of light, this one is a opaque object. Here the distance between the source of light and this opaque object is small. You can see the size of the shadow is more. The size of the shadow is more or is larger. Now, in the second one, this one is a source of light, this one is an opaque object, this one is an opaque object. Now, the distance between the opaque object and the source of the light is more. So, the shadow obtained on the screen is smaller. Shadow obtained on the screen is smaller. Okay. Then one more thing is there, on the angle at which the rays of light falls on the object. That point is not there for you to study. Just I will tell you. If the angle between the light ray and the object is small angle or it's very small, then you will get short shadow. Short shadow during noon time. The sun is just above our head. So, the angle between the light rays and our object is very small. So, you will get short shadow. Here at the morning or in the evening, the angle between the light ray and the object is large angle, or the angle between the light ray and the object is more. So, you will get a long shadow. This point is not there for you to study, just for your knowledge. Okay. So, the size of the shadow depends upon the distance between the source of the light and the object. If the source of the light, if the distance between the source of the light and the object is less, the size of the shadow form will be more. If the distance between the luminous object and the opaque object is more, then the size of the shadow will be very less. Then when you cast a shadow, you will get a darker portion and also a lighter portion. A darker portion in that shadow patch is known as umbra, and the lighter portion in that shadow is known as penumbra. This lighter portion is known as penumbra, and this darker portion is known as umbra. Okay. You have seen shadow puppetry. Shadow puppetry, you know. That is actually it's a play. With the help of shadows, they will convey the message. With the help of shadows, they will convey the message. Same time, we can measure time with the help of shadows. In olden days, no watch, no electronic clock, nothing was there. So, with the help of the shadow, ancient people know the time. What time? That depends upon the shadows. Okay. Then this one is shadow play. That is an ancient form of storytelling and entertainment which uses flat cut out pictures which are held between the source of light and the translucent screen. So, actually the source of light should be here, and this one is a screen, and here this one is a object. So, when light falls on this object, its shadow will be formed on this screen. Okay, this one is a translucent screen. With the help of this, it's in Konark temple. So, depending upon the shadow, we can find the time. Now, one question is there. The phenomena in which the moon's shadow falls on earth or earth casts its shadow on moon is, out of this, which one is the correct answer? Its shadow, lateral deviation, eclipse or tides. Just find the answer. Okay. I think now you got the answer. Actually, it's eclipse. During eclipse, solar eclipse, moon's shadow will be there on the earth, and during lunar eclipse, earth's shadow will be there on the moon. Okay. So, what is shadow? Shadow is a dark patch formed by an opaque object when light falls on it. Actually, the opaque object will block the path of the light and you will get a shadow on the screen. So, three conditions are necessary for the formation of a shadow. First one is a luminous object, second one is an opaque object, third one is a screen to cast the shadow. Then, the size of the shadow depends upon the distance between the luminous object and the opaque object. The size of the shadow depends on the distance between the luminous object and the opaque object. At the morning and at the evening, the shadow will be, or the length of the shadow will be more. At the noon, the shadow will be very small or short in size. Okay. Then when you cast a shadow, you will get a darker portion. The darker portion is known as the umbra and the light darker portion is the penumbra. This shadow can be used to say a story or to narrate a story, that is known as shadow play. With the help of shadows, we can find the time that ancient people used. Okay, thank you.